What's up, guys? I'm John Borba. I'm here with Brandon Hunt.
Hey.
And we are here to talk about Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 11, called Dead or Alive or... Which, if you've seen the episode, the answer is something else.
I guess?
This episode was interesting.
Yeah.
We're both comic fans.
Yep.
For those of you who aren't, this episode may have felt a little fuzzy, but the ending to this episode is a big point towards a similar conclusion to the comics, which is what we've kind of been talking about. So, spoilers beware, we're going to talk a little bit about where the comics went ahead of now, and we're going to talk a little bit about where the show is going now. There were some interesting things in this episode.
There were.
They kind of positioned Dwight back with the Saviors.
Yep.
So that he can kind of follow that comic role.
Yep.
But they also ended the episode with Negan looking at essentially biological warfare.
Yes. Which is a big thing in the comics.
Yes.
And it marks the start of the big battle at the end of All Out War. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, so it looks like things are starting to come to an head, which is weird. Walking Dead, in my opinion, has had some pacing issues in the last couple seasons, and it feels like we're either gonna get several episodes of posturing at this point, or we're gonna start a battle that's gonna last several episodes long, which in the comics...
About 5?
Yeah, I mean, we have 5 left. And in that time, if the show is going to follow the comics, this is one of those spoilers, Rick needs to change his mind about Negan.
Yes.
Rick needs to decide that he is not going to kill Negan. And I don't know if there's enough time for me to really make that happen because of the differences between the comic and
You
the
don't
show.
think 5 episodes is enough time to do it?
I mean, Rick in the comic did not have Carl die.
Right.
And I think that's a big contributing factor to Rick's mindset.
Sure.
And
But a lot can happen in one episode.
yes, that's true. But in the actual course of time, if it does follow the same timeline as the comics, between now and whenever this showdown happens, as a dad, I will say that much time is not enough time. I mean, given Negan didn't kill Carl.
Right.
Carl, being a good person, killed Carl, which is unfortunate. But in the end, Rick was not there with his son. Rick was doing all these other things. And I think Rick has this immense sense of guilt because of that.
Sure.
That's going to contribute to this greater mindset for Rick.
Yeah. I think you're wrong. I think lots of stuff can happen in that time period. And I think that the battle that's about to happen, or at least we think is going to happen, or we hope is going to happen, possibly will happen before the season finale. And my prediction is that midway through the season finale, we get that time jump, which I'm crossing fingers for is going to happen.
I agree. I think the time jump at this point is imminent. And I
Yeah.
think that it's going to show up in that finale. I think we're at least going to get a taste of it, kind of like we did Negan at the end of season 6.
Yep.
Hopefully it's more fulfilling than that.
Sure. I don't think Rick will look as sleek as he did in Carl's dream.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get some remnants of, hopefully, I mean, I don't want to say hopefully Rick is his leg broken, but that's what happens in the comics, right? Hopefully we get a glimpse of what we saw in the time jump, which is a spoilers. It's a more he's more refined in his look. He's very broken, but he is definitely a changed man.
I feel like he's also more composed, though, after
Sure.
the time jump as well. Like, he feels more calculating instead of more reactive. Like,
Yeah.
he does have to be reactive in the comics, but it's in a sense where he's kind of decided the way that he's going to handle things and the demeanor that he's going to present himself in. That is less like, I'm Rick, and more like, I'm going to handle you now.
Yeah. Yes.
I like that Rick a lot more. I feel like it lends itself more to Andrew Lincoln as a human being.
Right.
But going back to the finale or the finishing moments of this episode where Negan takes his bat and he just rubs it and just brushes that zombie's teeth with it. Just all Colgate on that bad boy. I think this is a big moment because
Yeah.
what happens in the comics, and we're going to break this down because it's important. Negan and the Saviors go to, I think it's Hilltop in the comics as well. And they kind of have this smash and grab break-in where they attack a bunch of people with zombie bloodied weapons. And Dwight tells Negan, I got him, I got Rick. So Negan gives this big grandiose speech and thinking that Rick is dying in there, and he says, you know, just give up, your leader's dead. And then Rick shows up on the wall and is like, ha, ha,
surprise!
Ha, ha. It's a very cool reveal, and it leads to some more important moments. We've talked about them in other episodes, but I don't think it's really important to spoil that here if you haven't seen those before.
Right.
But the conclusion of that is very, very, very important, and Negan doing this was a moment where me and you were kind of like,
oh, dang.
It's happening now.
Yeah. Yeah, because this ultimately means that they're ramping up. We've been waiting and waiting for this battle, right? And this signifies that it's going to happen this way. They're going to do the biological warfare. They're gonna get all up in them guts and spin up all their weapons and fling them at everybody. I mean, it's kind of like almost medieval warfare at this point. It was kind of like that in the comics. Did they have trebuchets in the comics and things like that? I think they did. I don't remember. But it's the start. And that's what really excites me, is that the change since his arrival at the end of 6 is coming, right? We've ramped all this up, and it's finally gonna start. Hopefully, we still have 5 episodes left.
So here's my question coming out of this is, right now, behind the scenes of Walking Dead, Lauren Cohen, who's Maggie, doesn't have a signed contract. And she is signed on for a pilot for another show. Now, Scott Gimple, who is the former showrunner, he handed off during the middle of this season to another showrunner, has said he's pretty sure that they can come to terms with Lauren Cohen. But my question is, we've seen before that Scott Gimple and Robert Kirkman like to raise the stakes on whatever happened in the comics.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed Abraham and Glenn in the same episode,
Right.
Which that didn't happen that way in the comics. You know, the stakes have already been raised in Rick losing Carl, which doesn't happen in the comics, and in my opinion, has drastically changed the trajectory of the show.
Sure.
But is the reason we're not getting that confirmation about Maggie because she could potentially be out?
Do you think she could die during the...
I don't know. I mean, realistically, she's also a huge part of the future of
A huge part of
the
future.
comics.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to ask that question. You have to look at this and say, what have they done in the past? What are they potentially doing now?
Right.
You know, I'm curious as to what your take on that is.
I hope that's not the case. I would like to see her take the trajectory that she does in the comics. I am very curious about that new show. But remember, Andrew Lincoln did a show on the side, on the off season for the first couple seasons of Walking Dead. It was Strike Back, right?
And Norman Reedus was right, I guess.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the actors can go and do their own thing if they decide to be...
Yeah, and
they
Denai
don't-
Guerrero did
Yeah.
Black Panther.
So maybe that's that, and they're just, you know, they don't want to stir the pot for some people like you who see that and they're like, ooh!
What does this mean?
So potentially it could just mean that they just haven't finalized the deal yet. Maybe she wants more money.
That's
She's
fair.
been on the show for, oh my God.
Oh my God. She's been on
like
the-
eight seasons.
Something like that.
Like
Well,
that.
6,
Not
maybe?
7, yeah.
7.
So it could be that, but you know, we like to speculate. We like to get there.
Yeah, so let us know what you think and where the show is going in the comments below. If you read the comics, give us your take. We would love to check it out. We'll be in the comments. And for everything else Walking Dead, stick with IGN.
Toshiba.